Foxborough Rush coming back at you on a Friday morning here, and we're just bouncing around, and we're going to head down to Atlanta to talk to Orlando Ledbetter, who covers the Falcons for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Thanks so much for being here with us. Look, I got to start with this one. This Falcons team might be the biggest enigma to me in the league this season. Like, who are they? I haven't been able to figure it out. So can you shed some light for us here this morning, please?
Yeah, this has been the most tumultuous start to the season for me, and I've been, covering them for 22 years. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they showed up week one, went toe-to-toe with the Bucks, went to Minnesota, smacked them down, and then I went to Carolina and lost 30-0. So it was like,
Right.
Okay, it happens, no problem. Then they beat Washington and then beat Buffalo, back-to-back playoff teams. And I'm like, okay, they're on their way. Falcons have turned the corner. We can, 7 straight losing seasons over with. And then they come and play the Dolphins and don't even bother show up. So they've been up and down, schizophrenic. They look great at times. We can't put a whole game together. So that's the challenge here early on. And part of it is the young players and a rookie quarterback essentially, and a staff that's also pretty young, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. So it's been wild. It's been a wild start to the season.
Yeah.
I guess
very unpredictable.
We should start offensively because there are a couple questions coming into this game. Obviously, the quarterback position looks like they're going to have Michael Penix back, but not entirely sure. They have so much talent, but maybe not utilized correctly, or they haven't reached the heights that everybody set out for them. What have you seen from the offense this season compared to last year? Obviously, they had a little bit of carryover from last year, but with all the talent that they have, why haven't they been able to put it together consistently?
Well, yeah, they're moving the ball. 340 a game. That's, top half of the league. They were near the top earlier. The problem is the red zone and scoring touchdowns. So, Bijan, if he doesn't take it in from 81, he gets stuck in the mud. But, Kyle Pitts is having his best year. Drake London's been in and out of the lineup. When he plays, they look fabulous. So you can't key on Bijan when Drake's there. And then Darnell Mooney has been hurt most of the year and doesn't look like himself yet, but he's rounded into form. So the weapons are, when they're there, it looks fine to me. The red zone issues are real because you got to score points. But, so it's not the dumpster fire that Dan Orlovsky and, Kurt Warner, want to project. When you look at it close up and you've been there every day, it's not the dumpster. They don't like the pistol. Fine. I don't care what you run out of in the pro, NFL league. It's designed to work. But you do got to score points in the red zone, and maybe you do need to get in a traditional 2-back set and power the ball at people, certainly in the red zone and maybe in short yardage.
Do you expect that it will be Penix out there this week, and will Drake London be out there to join him?
Yeah, I based on being at practice yesterday, Kurt was over on his third field with the backup receivers getting ready to run scout. And so that meant, by the time they kicked us out, Penix was going to be running the first team offense. So that was the case last week, too. So I got to follow up today and make sure they don't say Kurt was getting more of the reps when we were gone. But, yeah, it's looking like Penix will start. Drake was back out there Wednesday indoor. He wasn't doing too much. Yesterday he was doing a little bit more. Asked him in the locker room. He said, yeah, I'm good, so we'll see today when we get the update. So I'm expecting him to be near full strength on the offensive side of the ball.
Defensively, this is a unit, a lot of young players, and they've built a pretty good defensive unit with rookies. The 2 safeties, the 2 edge defenders. What have you seen from them this year that have been able to kind of let them take a step forward?
Yeah, the 2 edgers are Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., who, if you do your numbers on, defensive ends coming in the league, nobody really lights it up with 10 or 12 sacks. but they've been able to function. They've been able to play. They've been able to split time with Leonard Floyd and Arnold Ebiketie to where they're not making splash plays, but they're not getting drugged around the field either. So I think good start for both of those guys. Now, Billy Bowman at the nickelback, one of the safeties that they drafted, he's been excellent when healthy. He's missed the last couple games. He's jumping routes, taking stuff out of the slot and shutting down slot receivers. So that's been good. And Xavier Watts has 4 breakups, 2 interceptions. He's a Notre Dame safety that's playing back, a little bit traditional free, a little bit of traditional free and some strong. But those, you rarely see 4 rookies come in and make an impact. And at least for Xavier Watts, he's been able to answer the bell for 100% of the snaps in all the games. Bauman's had injuries. Walker's been slow by injury too, and Pierce has been out there too. But want to see him get to the quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, speaking of the quarterback, Drake May taking a little good-natured ribbing from his teammates about his name linked with some MVP talk. I'm curious what the talk has been this week from the Falcons about New England's sophomore quarterback.
Yeah, it's been flattering. They have been impressed. They call him mini Josh Allen. That's what I've been hearing from the Falcons this week from the coordinator Jeff Ulbrich and Jesse Bates. They're like, oh yeah, he's doing it. I was like, my guy told me that he's running on 2nd and 3rd downs. When he gets jammed up, and they're like, no, they got some stuff for him too. And he'll throw it deep on you. So they are on alert. They are very impressed, and I think that's genuine, given the start that he's had to the season. We've been following him since he's at North Carolina because he had to come to town and play Georgia Tech every year. So good for Drake. He's off to the good start here in his career. Right now, you got to say he's the best of that class. I'm sorry to Penix and Caleb and the rest of the. Well, Jaden's been hurt. It was Jaden last year, but this year has definitely been Drake May thus far.
Yeah. Bo Nix, he got to throw him in that equation as well.
Yeah.
yeah, Bo is doing it too. So, but I think Drake's doing it a little bit better.
When you look at some of the specific matchups this week, who are some players that Patriots fans should keep an eye on the Falcons?
Yeah, interior wise, I think David Oyamada is the guy that they're going to ask to step up and shut down the run. That's what they've been getting beat with the last couple games. The Devon Diablo linebackers out. They got JD Bertrand in there. So they're going to ask them tackles to clog up the run game, and David Oyamada's one person that could do that. Zach Harrison's been he missed one game, but I think he's going to be back. And these are their bigger tackles. I think it's, Brandon Dorlus is a smaller tackle. Ruka Ruru is a smaller tackle. But, yeah, their whole intent coming to New England is, hey, we better stop the run or they're going to get ran over. That would be one. That'll be one matchup inside the guards and the defensive tackles. Drake London on the cornerbacks, that'll be because they're going to throw him the ball if he's playing. He's going to get 10 targets minimum. So, and of course, the linebackers, Spillane, I believe, Robert, leading tackler, on Bijan. That's going to be key. That's a key because he's getting the ball. He's going to run the, it's not no mystery that Bijan's getting the ball. And if they don't give it to him, they're going to try to throw it to him. So, not a real complex game plan there for Coach Vrabel. So those are some of the matchups to keep an eye on. Those are some of the names that we're expecting to see a lot of.
What's Bijan like? I mean, he is just like, obviously stood out on the stage in a much larger level this season. Just take, New Englanders inside a little bit. What's this guy like?
Yeah, he. I think it started at Texas. The NIL money and hanging out with Matthew McConaughey. He came here star ready. I mean, I would go to his events away from the team, and real genuine. Guy would sit down with him after they were packing lunches for kids or backpacks or whatever, And, he's really sincere in his religious beliefs, but he knows he's a talented football player. He knows that, they're going to be asking him to do a lot, and he has to take care of his body and be ready to go. But real humble young man, I think very, very genuine. You never really know the players like, you're supposed, really know him. But, the chances the time I got to spend with him away from the team and with the team, just a consummate professional and a really just good young kid, genuine kid that has a fine story about how his grandparents raised him out in Arizona and led him to Texas and ended up here in Atlanta. So good little story. And he seems to be a really genuine person, and it's been fun to work with thus far too.
He's such a talented player. He's a threat to go for 200 all-purpose in any game. But last week, with 20 whatever yards on the ground, just was never really quite able to get it going. What would you attribute that to? Obviously, quarterback situation is different. You knew they were going to key on him. But what was it about last week specifically that the Dolphins were able to slow him down?
Yeah, it's no clue where the play's going, and they were jumping into the lanes, and they were beating their blocks. I mean, it's really that simple. They got blown up at the point of attack, where they have been creating space and lanes for him to go. There was nothing there, absolutely nothing, and they couldn't stay with the run. They got behind. It was 17-0, 17-3 at halftime. So then the running game was dead at that point. It was 10 in part because of Bijan. He had a fumble in there too. So that's what happened in that game. They came out, fired up, ready to play, and then they didn't have to play that long because they got a lead. And so you weren't going to get the steady dose of Dion. Then you got Kirk Cousins in a drop back game. So, that's a disaster for the Falcons if they can't get him going. And they weren't able to, and Miami was able to jump out on him. And at that point, that it's not a drop back team, and they weren't able to get back in that game.
Trade deadline, of course, coming our way, 5 days away. Is Kirk on this team all season long? Is there any chance that they move on from him and find themselves some loot for down the road and part ways with their rather expensive backup quarterback?
Yeah, is that? No, I think he's here because he's been the consummate professional. Like I said, he comes out there every day, goes over there, works with the scout team, gets the receivers together so he can give them the best possible look. If he was making waves, he wants to go to another team, but he's not in there pounding the table in the locker room and throwing tables around and stuff like that. So long as he's, being a pro about it, they're going to be like, hey, we already paid you the money. If something happens to Mike, you're here. Hopefully it goes better than it did against the Dolphins. But, nobody can I think maybe one or two teams have the salary cap space to take the contract. And then Kurt has a no trade clause. So it's got to be, he's not going to New Orleans. He's got a no trade clause. So he's only going to a couple places, and most of those places are set or they don't have the money to take him in at this point. So it's a bad situation for him personally, but hey, he's got the money.
What do you make of this coaching staff? Because Raheem Morris, I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but it's not cold. It's getting a little bit warm. Obviously, they haven't reached the expectations that many had for him at the beginning of the season. But not just him. Obviously, the two coordinators looking like they're heading in opposite directions.
Yeah, I've been reflecting this week as we're hearing, folks are going, Raheem's on the hot seat, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. He didn't inherit the 78 Steelers here. This wasn't a ready-made roster to go to the Super Bowl here.
Right.
And you got a bunch of young kids on both sides of the ball. So, it's a lot of variables he's trying to pull together. Defensive coordinator's fine. Ulbricht's doing a great job with the young kids over there. Zach Robinson's in his second year. People got tape on him. People know what to do with the pistol. What's his counters? What is he going to do? So you hired a young staff, and you knew it was going to be a rough patch along the way, I'm suspecting. So now what do? Do you help him through the rough patch? You get him some help. You bring in some senior assistants to help him get through this, or do you keep just doing the same thing, more cowbell? So Raheem, it wasn't like this. This is the 7th straight losing season. They're going for 8, so it ain't like this was a Super Bowl team. Yeah, you could make the playoffs. The NFC South is soft, so that if he can do that, that's still on the play. That's still in play. But if it goes all the way sideways, then the owners got to step back and say, "Man, what are we doing?" Okay, but another 4-12. They can still go 4-12. Something like that. Another 6-11. If he gets 9-8, 10 and something, stay in the playoff race. Yeah, you retool and keep it moving. But yeah, it ain't like this was a built-out team, and they were ready to, they're not ready to play Detroit. They're not ready to play Philly. I'm just trying to see where you can compete in the NFC. You got them where they could play Tampa. You beat them twice last year, played them, almost pushed them to overtime with a kick, missed the field goal. So, baby steps here, baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, but people nowadays with all the, stuff out there, they're like, no, fire him, he's got to go. And so when you take a step back and look at it, it's like, okay, wait a minute. This wasn't, like I said, he didn't inherit the Chiefs here. This was a rebuild that was halfway in progress when he got here. So once you step back and look at it like that, it's like, okay, there's work to be done. It's not perfect, but, I want to, blow it all the way up right now.
Right. And then start over again with more work to be done because, that's where you're putting it, right? And by the way, like you're also trying to figure out who are we going to put in there, to hire someone who's doing a definitively better job than the job that's already being done. Like these are all the questions that have to be asked before you move on from a head coach, which everybody is very quick to do across the league these days. All right, we got to get a prediction for the weekend. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, I see the Patriots, the hottest team in the league, getting to their 6th straight win. The Falcons gonna play tough, but I just don't see the defense being able to hold Drake May down. So, and then I don't know if Penix is able to get in a shootout at this point. And they're gonna tackle Bijan. So. The run defense, Mike Vrabel's run defense is going to show up. I'm expecting that. So that's kind of where I'm at here on Friday morning. Thinking the Patriots are going to move to 7-2 and, continue to be the hottest team in the National Football League.
Well, you just brought a lot of smiles around here. I know they'll all take that here in New England. Orlando, thanks for being with us. We appreciate the time. Safe travels up to the Boston area. I hope you enjoy a fall weekend up here with a little football on it as well.
Yes, well, thanks so much for having me on the Foxborough Rush, and I got to go find my winter coat. I think I still have one.
That's right.
Better bring that up to Boston.
Yeah, it's beautiful out today, but you never know. Just wait a minute. It's New England. It could always change. Much more Foxborough Rush coming your way right after this.